God, we're going to have like all the different angles. I know, it's fine though. Thanks. Hi, good morning. We're here at the Schoolhouse. This is the last day of a 4-day workshop, and thanks David for being the camera person today. That's great.
Yeah.
And thanks to Mick for modelling. We model all together. And I'm going to do maybe 20 minutes here of, you know, just the kind of starting, how we might start again. And yeah, you're doing great. Like, it's good to, glad that you showed up again. Good to
We do it for a week.
and we'll keep an eye out for you. Oh, it's
going.
going great. Oh,
Yes.
great, yeah. Perfect timing. Well done, girls.
Welcome back. Hi,
How are you?
Gareth. Hi, good.
It's great to see you.
Is this
Yeah.
my magic?
Hi.
So, and girl, this is Zoe.
Hi,
Hey,
yeah,
Zoe,
how
nice
are
to
you?
meet you. How are
Nice
things?
to meet you.
Anna.
Good,
Hello,
How you doing? How are you?
And you know, and this
How's
is
it going?
Caroline Gerard, and Naomi will be coming later on, hopefully.
Perfect.
Gareth has his own studio in Rathmines.
Oh, great. Yeah. I never even talked to you about that sort of thing, girl.
Look at Garrett.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great
no,
spot.
these
You're
days,
Gareth.
yeah.
Lucky Garrett.
What's his
Oh,
name?
Gerard.
Garrett.
Oh, I can do things.
Sorry, I've never said Gareth.
Okay, yeah, so welcome, you're just on time, we're just starting. So, let's see now. So I was talking about finding the position of the board, and it feels comfortable enough for me to translate the head over here. You know, that seems like a good, you want to kind of get yourself, oh yeah, let's do it, Tanya. Will you do it on your phone? Oh, thanks. And I think 20 minutes, and if it's a little later.
Sorry.
So we'll do 20 minutes. Okay, fantastic. All right. What was I going to say then? We're talking about getting position where you want to find yourself into kind of a, see if you can get yourself into kind of a comfortable position that you can easily see the model and see the board, and you're kind of standing at arm's length from the easel. And the usual thing of feeling like you're fully occupying the space you're in. So you're steady on your feet, and at the same time have a kind of a lightness about you. Like my friend says, you're loose of limb. I love that. And you know, so you're kind of gently holding the brush. There's nothing too rigid happening, and you're just going to find your way in. You know, let's just find a way in. So I think the first thing I would do there now would be to make a colour that would represent the more blue again. I've always been loving blue, the ultramarine blue.
Most popular colour.
It is, yeah, something to represent the hair, like the brown and blue together, I think. Is a good colour to explain the dark of the hair. So this is ultramarine blue here. This is going to be the best video I've ever done. They'll be saying, oh, who's the camera in there? He's getting all the angles and the close-ups and everything.
Mine was
You're going to set the standard too high for me now. I'm going to
Yeah.
But I'm not going to risk fiddling with it and closing up, so, but
No, that's great, thanks. Okay, so I'm putting a bit of brown and blue together there to make a colour that's like that's a little bit more blue than brown, so I'm going to put a bit more, and it's the Van Dyke brown that looks like that, and the ultramarine blue that looks like that I'm using. So those two together will give me a colour to represent the dark hair. And it's, I think, a good place to start here. It's funny how I decided to do that, because I think yesterday we did start with the eyes, didn't we? So maybe even still I could do with a touch more brown in it, because there's a nice kind of warm sheen where the light is catching his hair on the left side there. But I don't want to fill in all the hair. It's really just to place it and get an idea of the particular tilt of the head, and maybe there's a little triangle of hair that will explain the side of the forehead for me there. You know, there's just a little sliver that I can see where the hair meets the face. And now it's the chance I think to do, and I'll keep with this brush because that's the colour I want to use for the eyebrows. I think I might as well start to bring the eyebrows in. I remember from yesterday how the proportion of hair to the forehead, from chatting with the people down the other end yesterday, because Mick was the model on the other side yesterday, of course. Okay, and then over here we've got it receding into the distance.
That's still ultramarine.
Well, well, it is mixed with the Van Dyke
Van
brown.
Dyke brown, yeah.
The dark brown and the dark blue together make that colour. And I was going to stay with the same brush because the colour's right, but the size isn't right for me to do the eyebrow. It would be kind of tricky to paint the eyebrows with that brush because there's two directions to the eyebrows and they're not. And I don't want to just place on one solid horizontal just for the sake of keeping the same colour.
Was your first brush the 2-inch on?
It was, yeah, and then, yeah. So now I'm mixing up. You see how there's a lake of colour down there? That's kind of too runny, really. So I'm just going to scoop that up. Because I want to be able to make a clear mark when it's something like the eyebrows. So I'm just mixing up the ultramarine blue. And it's wet, but it's not gathering down here. And the Van Dyke brown. You know, I think that's going to allow me to make a fairly clear mark. And early on, you don't want it to be too dark. But later, if I wanted it to really establish the darks clearly, just keep putting the pigment in. No more water, but more pigment.
Yeah.
And that'll get you there. Is that a bit blue?
Yeah.
There we are.
Thank you.
And then we can try it. I'll give you some scrap paper and you can have your piece of scrap paper to do this business on.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see now, where would that be about? Maybe there's a slant in this direction for that eyebrow. And then there's a kind of a thing where it comes in towards the nose. There a little bit. Oh, jeepers. There we are. The one is slightly higher. The other eyebrow is slightly higher than that one. And I've not set in stone the position of the hair really, but I just know the volume of it in relation to the volume of skin. And we can eat into the shape to make it more characterful later. In fact, there's a little bit of hair that comes down there. It's kind of getting a bit dark as it turns around the head. So that can be a helpful thing. And yeah. And then I'll go to the other brush because I want to bring in some skin colour. So I'm just using the 1-inch brush. Now, see when you start off using these brushes, I put it all the way in so that it's completely wet and then scrape it off the side.
Yeah.
There's something about it being wet all the way up that draws the paint up for you. And then even if it's a bit too wet, you don't want to stick it into your palette then because it'll flood the colour with water. So you touch it on your paper towel and it'll also let you know if there's any paint still on your brush. And then I'm going to pick up some red because I want to make the colour that's in the sockets of the eye a little bit more skin colour now.
Yeah.
Something a bit more, because it's all very, you know, none of this colour really feels like skin
Which
colour.
red did you add there?
It was the cadmium red, thanks, yeah, cadmium red I put in, and that looks like that. Look, it's the brighter of the two reds. So half closing my eyes, it's not as though it's very warm red in there, but it's not going to be the dark of the hair colour either. I often find that particularly that area has a shadow that's quite significant. You know, it's not always a clear shape, but something dark in there I find helpful. Yeah. Actually, I'm kind of questioning my red dark. I'm going to put a little bit of green into it. That's the sap green. Because you know, red tends to come forward a little bit, and I find that that's extending towards me more than I wanted to. So I just put a touch of green into it there. Right, what am I doing now? Let's see. I'm remembering to half close my eyes again. So he's turning away from the light. I keep having to do that thing as well of putting the brush all the way in, wiping it off, and then touching the paper towel because it somehow dries itself out sometimes as well. So I'll put some a little bit more brown and blue into the mix again now because the head as it turns around is going away from the light. The ear is a little bit lower than the eyebrow over here. And considering the width, so from the eyebrow, the width of the eyebrow, there's another eyebrow again before we get to the edge of the face really. And it's dropping down the way. Let's see. Something like that. Okay. And then in front of the ear there's a little bit of hair too that's helpful to explain. And the same way as that hair explains the side of the forehead, the hair here is a kind of a full stop for the other side of the face. And I might just leave it at that for now and go back over here. You want to be like, you know that quote, the Suzanne quote, my painting holds hands and comes up together. You want to be dancing around the whole thing and not to be stuck on one bit. So as soon as you do something on one side, you might feel like you want to go over to the other side then and just re-establish that and consider your distances. And it seems to me like the cheekbone is the part that's farthest out here, and the skin, I mean. And so I'm coming back in a little bit there, maybe straightening that up. And then we'll have the colour of the beard, which is a helpful way to anchor the face down. And like, in order that you don't put yourself into, you don't trap yourself into having the beard in a particular place, like you're only putting one layer of paint on, which is actually simple enough to lift off if need be. So I'm finding where the centre of the beard sits, something like there maybe. And then I might do the neck coming in. I think this maybe could do with being that direction. It feels like it's more of a vertical area of hair there. And then we'll have the neck coming in to meet, or the hair coming in to meet the neck, I should say, below the ear. And over here, the neck is extending up so that it will cut through the eyebrow there, so it might be kind of about here-ish. And it looks to me then like, anytime you notice a colour, stick it in. It looks to me like that colour, the colour of the hair on the left, even might have a touch of cadmium red in it. And you know, I just think it's helpful when you notice a colour. There's a reason you noticed it, you might as well chalk it down. Okay, so we'll go back in now. Maybe put a little bit of that same warmth here, where the beard stops being very dark and begins to warm up a little there. But before I go any further crawling up the face, I think it's better to consider again where the nose will sit in relation to the eyebrows. So I'm just going to pick up some of that same brownish colour. And you can wander about if you can't see very clearly, but you know, you can feel free to wander around. So I'm just going to put the shadow beneath the nose, something to describe the underside of the nose there. I seem to have given them a good tilt. I don't know if that's really true. It's there. And this side of the nose is a little bit higher than the other. I'm going to put a bit more of the hair colour in now because we're coming down again for a bit of the moustache. And the turn in the moustache would hit about here on the eyebrow. So the turn in the moustache would hit about here. Yeah. You might find that it helps you to talk yourself around it. What's happening there now? Oh yeah, that's a bit longer than that bit. And look at this. Oh, and there's a surprise. And that's kind of warm and that's cool. And you know, keep yourself immersed in this. Keep yourself immersed in here. What's happening there? More so than what's on your page or anything. Okay. And then there's the turn here, it seems to be happening there. Okay. Alright. That seems to be some sort of swipe. Carry on. I'm kind of all over the place, isn't it? It's like directions everywhere. Great energy in it. So I'm going to put something down there for the right side of the neck, I think. The shadows that are sitting to the right will help to identify the cylindrical nature of the neck. I've just got a clean brush because I just noticed that the neck was kind of coming in more than I wanted it to. Let's see, clean. It wasn't very clean, was it?
Hey.
Hello. Welcome. Yeah, just lift it off the line of the neck. could just use the cadmium red and the sap green mix again to describe the shadow on the neck. That's what I tend to go to if I'm not sure. I just feel like, okay, that's a fairly good colour to describe the shadow on the skin. To meet the ear. Yeah, I really seem to have tilted him a little bit, but I kind of like the tilt. So I'm not wanting to. I'm just going to put the shadows in the face elsewhere as well, where I see them to be. And then, like we say, as we come down to the bottom of the nose, really just something to identify the shadow that's attached to the nose, and maybe cast by the nose is enough to describe it along with the shadows of the each socket of the eye. So there's the alizarin crimson I'm putting in. I'm going to just mix a little bit of the darker of the two reds now with the green for some reason. I think it's maybe because I want to make that side a little bit darker. And I could use that colour as well, couldn't I, for the colour of the lips, I think the upper lip. So the corner of the mouth, if I was to draw a straight line up from it, would hit through the, just to the left of the bend in the eyebrow, kind of. I think the corner of the mouth might sit about there. And you can, without fully committing to it being a mouth, you can just indicate the corner of the brush where things might be and then stand back. And actually I can tell that that might be a convincing spot for the corner of the mouth just with the dot. You want to be able to see it at a distance and know what the part might be. So it's good to put something there and stand back, I think. And of course later on it might change, but it's okay. It's good enough for now is the thing. That's a good mantra. Because you can't be setting it in stone like a computer. Everything kind of got its location in the first thing. We're alive and we're going to be imbuing it with life and energy, and every move you make is going to complete that. Not artificial intelligence, but human intelligence. We bring our own sensibility to it, and every single one of us has that particular unique view in the world. So considering too where the line of the upper, so if I was to continue the line of the mouth there and extend it out the way, it's going to hit just below the cheekbone. So I'm also placing the angle. Sometimes it's good to try and place an angle so that you can get 2 points of reference and not just rely on, it's vertically touching the eyebrow. Maybe consider too where it would go if you were to continue the line of the mouth through the face and out the other side. It's like placing things sometimes on a graph. Okay, maybe something more there. And then I'm not going to do anything, although the bottom lip does have colour. I think it's a better shadow, a more helpful shadow to find, I think. And I just use the Viridian green just because I don't think I've used that yet. A more helpful shadow to find, I think, there to describe form is the shape of the shadow that sits below the lower lip. And I just made that there with the alizarin crimson and the Viridian green. That shadow just for the banner list. I should use it. Maybe. And it's good too, isn't it, to make colours, but different, after telling you to buy the best thing, I should use it. But I think it's good too to make colours that are kind of different from each other around the place, So let's see now. We'll put in something for that. It's like a little square of shadow that sits below the lower lip. And it's not as though it's outlining the lower lip completely. So I would err on leaving a bigger space for the lower lip than a smaller one. And oftentimes it doesn't need any sort of outline in the lower lip. It might be more helpful to just find the line dividing the lips. And maybe the channel between the lower lip and the skin beyond it actually is a broken one. It can be even extending from the skin into the lip. It's not a big deal. Okay, and maybe that, I'm just gonna put a bit of cadmium red into that colour now in order to do something for the shadow. That's an example of kind of wanting to do a shorthand thing because I just noticed that there's a shadow there and I wanted to place it down before I forgot about it. So I did a shortcut and just stuck some cadmium red into the dirty colour that was there. So really I suppose it's better you need to discern yourself whether it's more urgent to get the thing down and a colour that you're not completely sure of, or if you want to really get the colour right, what's more important in that area. And for me, the shadow side of the face, it's not so important to have the colours completely clean. Gosh, that's my first time I've got it rumbled all weekend. I think I've been eating non-stop since I got here.
Haven't we all?
Yeah, really, yeah. It's a very, I suppose we're kind of hungry too, like when you're working, you're hungry. Okay, so there's a lot going on in the face there now. So I think, is your alarm going to go off, do you think?
She wants to be done.
Yeah, she's like, "Am I done?"
So we're 21 minutes into it.
21 minutes.
Oh, 25 seconds, very good. Okay, and just before I there, I think it was, I thought that maybe it wasn't enough and we were 40 minutes in. Okay, so I think there's enough done on the face, so my next stop there would be to do something in the body, and maybe, like we were talking about Zoe yesterday, that thing of a bit of release in the clothes even, doing something that'll, and I suppose the thing with that too is it'll cause you to be more bold in the face again when you go back in. You're letting yourself breathe again. Thanks very much, Mick. You kind of, there is this kind of, I think there's something in us that wants to do the focused stuff and be really potent and stuff, but then you need to give yourself a break from that and have a nice rest. And in between the potent and the rest, there's a bit of a fling of paint, I think, sometimes. And if you don't want to fling of paint on, just do something. Let yourself be free for a while. And then, Jesus, I'm thinking, I'll be looking back at this video and thinking, I could kind of calm it down a small bit sometimes. But that's the basic thing. It's dance time now, yes. So let's start with doing a bit
You
of
don't
dance.
have to video, Dave.
Yeah, definitely. But shake